All eyes are on the Cowboys and their contract saga, and no one is drawing more attention than Micah Parsons. This guy is the centerpiece of the team's off-season chatter, and right now everyone wants to know what's next for him. Oh, Parsons recently spoke at a special event marking the retirement of his high school jersey, and while it was a moment to honor his roots, he didn't shy away from giving some insight about the looming training camp and, of course, the contract that everyone's waiting for. Officially, the Cowboys training camp kicks off on July 20th, with practices starting a couple of days later, but there's still uncertainty over how much Micah will participate. Will he be a full participant, or will he take a more limited role? That remains to be seen, but the key takeaway is that Parsons remains confident the deal will get done. The question everyone's asking isn't if, but when. It's interesting to hear Micah's mindset on the whole situation, because he seems pretty unbothered by the drama that surrounds big contract negotiations. At the event, when reporters asked him about the timing and whether he's feeling pressure, his response was calm and clear. He's focused on doing things the right way and letting everything fall into place naturally. He said he's not trying to force anything or change anyone's mind, but rather trusting that things will unfold as they should. That's a perspective you don't always get from players locked in these high-stakes deals. And it says a lot about how he's handling the off-field distractions. Despite all the uncertainty, Parsons is showing a level of patience and professionalism that's admirable, especially when you consider the magnitude of the contract at play. Because let's be real, this contract isn't going to be just any deal. It's expected to be record-setting. Everyone involved, the Cowboys, Parsons himself, and his agent, knows this is going to shake up the market. The frustration comes from the fact that while there's no doubt about the size or importance of the contract, the Cowboys haven't locked it in yet. They know the stakes, they know the numbers, but the ink hasn't dried. For fans and analysts alike, it's maddening to watch this drag out longer than expected. You want the superstar edge rusher to be paid and put these distractions behind him so he can focus fully on the field. One of the biggest questions now is whether Micah will get paid before training camp even starts. The countdown is on. Training camp is just days away. Will the Cowboys push through and get the deal done so Parsons can walk into camp with that security? Or will the holdout drama linger? That question is fueling debates everywhere, and predictions are flying about whether he'll get that payday in time to suit up fully. Parsons has also weighed in on the contracts of other top edge rushers and defenders in the league, like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Aiden Hutchinson, and Trey Hendrickson. He says he's not really concerned about the timing or amounts those guys are getting paid because everyone's situation is different. He's focused on his own deal, on his own value. There's a lot of truth in what he says about how different players have different circumstances. Age, injuries, contract eligibility, and other factors make direct comparisons tricky. Still, the reality is the market is shifting rapidly and the salary cap keeps going up, which means the numbers only get bigger. Parsons mentioned that the salary cap increased roughly 18% this year, which would mean his contract should reflect a raise proportional to that growth compared to recent deals like Garrett's. While the exact percentage might be debated, some say it's closer to 9 or 12%, the overall trend is clear. Players like Micah are going to command top dollar, and the Cowboys know that. So it makes little sense to wait because the cost of waiting is almost always higher. From the team's perspective, there's pressure to get this deal done, not just for Parsons' sake, but for the overall health of the roster and the salary. Cap management. Holding out on a contract this important invites distractions that could disrupt team chemistry and focus. For a guy who's off to a Hall of Fame caliber start with his sack numbers, you want him locked in and ready to go, not worrying about negotiations. The Cowboys have other big contracts looming too, but this one feels like the most urgent. Once this gets settled, the front office can turn their attention fully to the next wave of deals without the cloud hanging over the team's most valuable defender. Micah Parsons, for his part, is handling the situation like a pro. He's articulate, measured, and seems to have a good understanding of the business side of the NFL. He's not just a player. He's a student of the game and the market, which comes through when he talks about contracts, salary caps, and how players' deals relate to one another. He's clearly aware of how the league works behind the scenes, which helps explain his calm approach. Instead of feeding into the hype or the drama, he's choosing to focus on the process and trust the right outcome will happen. That's a refreshing take in an era where players often feel pressure to take to social media or publicly demand deals. But for fans and observers, the weight is wearing thin. There's an eagerness to get the contract finalized, to see Micah Parsons officially cemented as one of the highest paid defenders in the league, and to clear the path for the Cowboys to concentrate on winning games rather than contract rumors. The team can't afford to have this hang over the locker room, especially as training camp approaches. And as much as the player himself is patient, the team's urgency to wrap this up should be high. The salary cap is climbing every year. And the longer the Cowboys wait, the more expensive it could get. Not to mention the risk of injury or diminished performance if Parsons isn't fully locked in and focused. Speaking of contracts around the league, the deal Myles Garrett recently signed reset the market for elite edge rushers. Parsons and others like TJ Watt and Aiden Hutchinson are now in that tier of players whose contracts will define the next wave of defensive pay. Parsons recognizes that while others' contracts are important, his deal has to reflect his own value and contributions, not just match what someone else got. That mentality is smart because it keeps the focus on his own achievements and potential. In summary, the Micah Parsons contract situation is a fascinating blend of high stakes, strategic timing, and personal focus. The player himself is composed and aware of the bigger picture, but the pressure is on the Cowboys front office to move fast and get this done before training camp disrupts preparations. For a young superstar whose production already borders on historic, this is the kind of contract that changes careers and franchises alike. The entire football world is watching, waiting for the moment when Micah Parsons finally puts pen to paper on what is expected to be a groundbreaking deal. Continuing from where we left off, the next big topic swirling around the Cowboys and their contract discussions is Dante Whitner. Unlike Micah Parsons, whose deal feels urgent and inevitable, Dante's situation is a bit more complex and layered. There's been a lot of talk recently about the Jets locking in Sauce Gardner with a massive contract, setting a new benchmark for cornerbacks across the league. That deal has ripple effects, especially for players like Dante Whitner, who is coming off a challenging season and an injury. When you look at the top corners in the league and the contracts they command, there's a noticeable hierarchy that affects where Dante fits in. Gardner's deal outpaced even Derek Stingley's, who himself has a highly favorable contract, and there's a clear gap between those top-tier contracts and the ones held by players ranked just below them, like J.C. Horn and A.J. Terrell. Dante is in that second or third tier at the moment, which means negotiations will be tricky. The Cowboys see Dante as a key piece in their secondary, arguably their best cornerback, but the injury history and recent performance dips add complexity to his valuation. The current franchise tag for a cornerback is hovering around $21 million, which sets a kind of floor for what Dante can expect if the Cowboys want to keep him but don't reach a long-term deal. Waiting too long on this one is risky because the salary cap continues to rise, just like with Parsons, which means the longer the Cowboys hold off, the higher the potential price tag. It's a balancing act between getting a deal done that reflects Dante's value without overpaying, especially when the team has so many other contracts to manage. This is where things get interesting, because the Cowboys have to juggle multiple priorities. There's Micah Parsons, who's the clear superstar, Tyler Smith, who's another young talent looking for his payday, and then players like Dante and Brandon Aubrey, whose deals may not be as eye-popping, but are still significant in the cap landscape. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In what's quickly becoming one of the most talked about whispers in the NFL offseason, veteran defensive tackle LYNVAL Joseph has officially announced his departure from the Dallas Cowboys, and the circumstances surrounding his exit are already fueling speculation across the league. Joseph, a seasoned force in the trenches, reportedly left with a sense of disappointment, voicing concerns that he wasn't valued enough during his time in Dallas. While the details remain murky, sources close to the situation suggest that tensions had been quietly building behind the scenes, with Joseph feeling sidelined in a system that failed to fully utilize his veteran leadership and on-field experience. Defensive lineman's departure comes at a crucial juncture for the Cowboys, who are still grappling with postseason inconsistencies and roster questions under head coach Mike McCarthy. The timing of Joseph's announcement has only intensified speculation that his exit could be linked to deeper issues within the organization's defensive strategy, or even broader disconnects between the front office and the locker room. Could Joseph's exit open the door for a surprise return to one of his former teams? Some insiders are already whispering about a potential reunion with the New York Giants, or even a bold move to join a contender hungry for interior defense. Perhaps the Ravens or Dolphins, both of whom are believed to be quietly monitoring the situation. Nothing is confirmed yet, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And right now, Joseph's words, "I wasn't valued enough here," are echoing loudly enough to suggest this might be more than just a typical off-season shuffle. For now, it's all speculation, but don't be surprised if Joseph's next destination turns a few heads. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.